Catching sea monsters like giant groupers and tuna with long lines is a challenge that requires patience, strength, and a lot of experience from experienced fishermen. The process often begins with a very early morning departure, heading to deep waters where giant groupers hide among coral reefs, rock caves, or tuna migrate with the ocean currents. The longline, also known as longline, is carefully prepared with hundreds to thousands of hooks hooked with live or fresh bait such as herring, squid, or fish heads. The hooks are attached along the main line, suspended at different depths to suit the hunting habits of each species. When casting, the boat moves slowly to ensure that the bait does not tangle and to keep the distance between the hooks. After several hours, even a whole day, the fishermen return to pull the line up. This is the most stressful time, because when a giant grouper or tuna gets caught, it will struggle frantically, pulling the line as tight as a bowstring and can even break the reel if not handled skillfully. Fishermen must use high-power reels, combining human strength, techniques and supporting equipment such as electric winches to reel in the line meter by meter. Not rushing or the fish will escape or the line will break. In particular, giant groupers can weigh up to several hundred kilograms and tend to dive deep, burrow into crevices, while ocean tuna are extremely strong and fast, often pulling the line hundreds of meters long. The battle between humans and sea monsters can last for hours in suffocating suspense. When pulling the fish close to the side of the ship, fishermen must use harpoons or large nets to hold it tight and pull it onto the deck, avoiding being injured by the struggling fish. For large tuna, bleeding and preserving with ice must be done immediately to maintain the quality of the meat. As for giant groupers, people often take pictures, measure their size and then bring them back to port to sell at extremely high prices due to their commercial value. Fishing with long lines is not only hard work but also a battle of wits between humans and harsh nature, where only those who are brave, resilient and experienced can win and bring home worthy trophies. In addition to techniques, time and effort, catching giant groupers and tuna with long lines also requires a deep understanding of the movement and living habits of each species. Fishermen must carefully monitor factors such as water temperature, wind direction, currents and seasonal migration to choose the right time and place to drop their lines. Tuna often appear in warm offshore waters, where there are many streams of bait fish, while grouper often hide in caves deep under the sea, requiring fishing lines to be designed long enough. Sturdy and extremely durable to withstand their strong jerks like hammers. Each long fishing trip often lasts many days at sea. Fishermen have to eat and sleep on the boat, endure sun, wind, big waves, and even sudden storms. There are times when a fish is hooked at night. The whole team has to wake up in the dark, fighting with the giant fish in the dark and big waves. Just a minute of carelessness can break the line. The fish will escape and all the effort will be lost in the sea. The feeling of pulling a bluefin tuna weighing more than 200 kilograms or a giant grouper as big as a refrigerator onto the boat is an explosion of joy, victory and admiration for the power of nature. Not just simply fishing. Longline fishing is also considered an art and a symbol of courage in the vast ocean. Veteran fishermen pass on to the next generation not only the secret of casting a line. How to choose bait, but also the spirit of not giving up even if they have to struggle with monsters at the bottom of the sea for many hours. Each fish caught is not only a valuable source of income but also a testament to the resilience and courage of those living in the middle of the ocean, where not everyone has the courage to survive and win. The deeper they get into the profession, the more fishermen understand that catching giant groupers and tuna is not just a matter of each person pulling on their own, but a series of harmonious coordination between humans and machines, between technique and feeling, between strength and patience. During the entire process of pulling the line, fishermen constantly observe every small movement on the fishing rod. Listen to the whistling sound of the line through the pulley. Feel every jerk, to guess whether it is a stubborn grouper hiding in the rocks or a tuna pulling the line and running away like an arrow. That feeling, which cannot be learned from books, is the key to success in every giant fish hunt. Many times, the fish is so big that the fishing line breaks in half, the rod breaks in half, and some people are even injured because they lose their balance when the fish suddenly pulls. On some trips, fishermen return empty-handed after dozens of hours drifting in the open sea. The bait is gone but the fish do not bite. But then they set sail again the next day, because in the hearts of those who stick to the sea, each pull of the line is a battle, each fish caught is a feat, and each trip is an unpredictable adventure. Today, although technology has greatly assisted with fish positioning devices, underwater sounders, and automatic electric winches, long lines are still maintained as a traditional method that is more effective, sustainable, and environmentally friendly than trawls or trawls, for high-value fish such as bluefin tuna or giant rock grouper. Catching with lines helps to maintain better meat quality, is less crushed, is more popular in the international market, and sells for a higher price. Finally, each giant fish brought into the cold storage not only brings income, but also symbolizes the courage and spirit of conquering the sea of the fisherman. In every callus on their hands, in every fiery look when the last fish is pulled up to the deck, we can clearly see one thing: catching grouper and tuna with long lines is not simply a job, it is a life, a passion, and a glorious battle between humans and the vast ocean. After being successfully caught, giant grouper and tuna will be carefully processed right on the boat to ensure the quality of the meat meets export standards. For bluefin tuna, the type hunted by the rich in Japan and Korea, fishermen must perform the process of bleeding, gutting, and deep freezing within minutes of the fish being brought up to the deck. They use stainless steel bars to penetrate the fish's spine to destroy the central nervous system, helping the fish die quickly and keeping the meat fresh longer, limiting decomposition. Giant groupers, which are often sold to high-end seafood restaurants or exported to China, will be immediately iced in a cold storage compartment, then transported to the mainland as soon as possible by logistics ships or specialized aircraft if the quantity is large. Each fish brought to the port becomes the center of attention. Traders, exporters, experienced traders gather to examine the weight, fatness, meat color, freshness before setting a price. Standard tuna can be sold for hundreds of millions, even billions of dong for especially large bluefin. Giant groupers, if still alive when brought back, can be temporarily raised in tanks to sell for many times higher than frozen fish. All of these things make each fishing trip not only a risky gamble but also a chance to change the lives of many fishermen, as long as they are brave and courageous enough to face the challenge. Many people compare giant fishing trips to a hunt in the middle of the ocean, where the prey is as strong and fierce as prehistoric wild animals. Fishermen returning with fish on deck are considered victorious warriors. They may be exhausted, sunburned, even have a few wounds, but their eyes always shine with pride. It is the satisfaction of conquering nature, the victory after days and nights at sea, and the proof of perseverance in never giving up before the cruelty of the ocean. Over the years, amidst the storms, the technique of fishing with long lines continues to be passed down from generation to generation as a precious heritage of the seafaring profession. It is not only about skills, but also carries within it the story of courage, passion and the never-ending desire to conquer the ocean. And in each trip, people always look forward to once again confronting giant sea monsters, the rulers of the deep ocean, to prove that humans, with will and intelligence, can still stand on par with fierce nature when the sunset falls on the vast sea. The shadow of the fishing boat is reflected in the waves. It is also the time when fishermen quietly look back on their arduous and glorious journey. After each successful fishing trip, besides the economic value, there is also the accumulation of experience, the painful lessons learned from each pull of the line. Each time a big fish is missed right next to the boat, no one in the profession has never failed, has never exchanged bait, line, strength and even blood for valuable lessons for the next trip. It is perseverance and respect for nature that create the courage of true fishermen. Lonely warriors in the ocean with no way back. Inside each giant grouper or bluefin tuna, there is a story. A journey, not only of that fish swimming in the vast ocean, but also of the people pursuing it for many days and nights. To outsiders, it may just be the final product in a seafood auction or a high-class dish on a luxurious banquet table. But to fishermen, it is a worthy trophy after hours of struggling, even life and death, in the cold ocean. Every scratch on their hands, every backache from pulling the line for hours, is the price they are willing to pay to confront the strongest creatures of the deep sea. Many young people leave the fishing profession because it is too difficult and dangerous. But there are also people who, despite returning empty-handed many times, still choose to stick with the long fishing line, because in their hearts, the ocean is a place to test their qualities, train their mettle and awaken a never-ending desire to conquer. The dawn drifting in the waves, the whistling sound of the winch when pulling the line, the fierce struggles under the water, all have become a part of the flesh and blood. An irreplaceable way of life. Catching giant groupers and tuna with long lines is not just a job to make a living, it is a silent epic in the middle of the blue ocean. There, Humans and the ocean are not enemies, but two forces struggling, challenging, and together drawing great stories about courage, intelligence, and the desire to overcome fate. Each time the fishing line is lowered into the depths, it is also the time when a new chapter of the adventure begins, where the strongest is not necessarily the fish, but the one who dares not to give up until the last second. And so, the long fishing trips continue, like a never-ending cycle between humans and the ocean. The ship docks and then sets sail. The fishing line is rolled up and then lowered into the depths. The fishermen hastily eat a cold meal and then pick up their fishing rods, ready for a new battle. They cannot count how many hooks they have dropped, how many meters of line they have pulled, nor remember how many times they almost lost their lives because of the big waves, because of the giant fish that thrashed around the deck in panic. But one thing is certain, the more danger they face, the stronger, more experienced, and more resilient they become in the face of the challenges that the ocean brings. The long fishing line, seemingly just a simple tool, is actually a symbol of the connection between the fisherman and the ocean. It is not only a rope to catch fish, but also a rope that binds the lives of fishermen to the ocean, both a livelihood and a destiny. Every time they pull up a grouper weighing hundreds of kilograms or a tuna nearly as long as a human body, fishermen not only feel the material value, but also a deep pride, as if they have just reclaimed a part of the glory from the hands of the sea. Monster fish do not always appear. There are trips that last a whole week but catch nothing, sometimes losing all the line, bait, oil and effort. However, just once catching a giant grouper or a bluefin tuna worth hundreds of millions, all the hardship immediately becomes worthwhile. It is that hope, fragile but never extinguished, that urges them to continue going out to sea, continue to cast their lines and continue to engage in the relentless battle under the ocean. For seafarers, the sea is not only a place to work, but also a home, a friend, an opponent and also a place to entrust their dreams, even though they knew that each time they dropped the line, it was a risky gamble. They still chose to stick with the long fishing line, like a silent oath to the ocean, we will not give up. Because the giant fish are still waiting to be conquered. And just like that, the fisherman's journey to catch sea monsters continued, strong, brave and endless because of the harsh challenges and the hard work involved in each fishing trip. The image of fishermen fishing for giant groupers and tuna with long lines has gradually become a symbol of courage and perseverance, not only in the eyes of the fishing community, but also in the hearts of coastal people in general. At every wharf and processing plant, stories about giant fish pulled up from the deep sea are still passed down like living legends, real, but not easy to repeat. From the silver-haired old men with decades of experience to the new generation of young people entering the profession, everyone has an aspiration. One day, they will personally pull up a sea monster, a grouper weighing half a ton or a bluefin tuna as long as a boat. That tradition has created a close-knit community, where fishermen see each other as blood brothers, sharing bait, supporting each other in storms, and sharing joy when someone in the team catches a big fish. There are ships that, after successfully catching giant fish, Do not return to port immediately, but instead circle around other ships to share the good news, as a way to add motivation to those who are still patiently waiting for the fish to bite. Each fish pulled up is no longer the spoils of an individual, but the victory of the whole group, of the spirit of solidarity and sharing among people who stick to the sea. However, behind the halo of successful trips is still the shadow of lurking danger. Seafaring accidents can happen at any time, from injuries caused by fishing lines tangling the legs, machinery accidents, to sudden storms in the middle of the ocean. Therefore, each time a ship safely arrives at port, each time a ship brings back a big fish, it is not only a joy but also a gratitude, to heaven and earth, to the ocean, and to one's own indomitable perseverance. For generations, catching giant groupers and tuna with long lines has gone beyond the scope of a simple profession. It is a whole character, a way of life, a journey of man before the vast nature, in the middle of the vast ocean, where everything can be swept away in a wave. The only thing that holds on to dreams and hopes is the will to not let go of the fishing line. And thanks to that line, simple but durable,